G'day, welcome to Matt's Workshop. In this video I'm going to discuss the machine origin settings, then look at the start location for the job as well as the job origin settings. I'm going to be using Lightburn Software, and I know not everyone uses Lightburn Software, so towards the end of the video I'm going to show where to find the same settings I discuss in both RDWorks and AutoLaser. Those programs are for Ruida Controllers and the AutoLaser is for the TopWisdom Controllers. You may need to check your user manual to see where your machine origin is. On this machine, when I power it on, the laser head will move to the machine origin. After it's done its reset from the machine origin, it will then return to the last known position or the last set user origin. So when you use Lightburn, you'll notice that there is a red square in the top right hand corner of your work area. That red square refers to the machine origin, and it's important that it's set correctly, or you'll notice that when you start a job the image will be flipped on the final piece. So to check the machine origin in Lightburn, you can do it while you're setting it up, or click on the Tools button. Here you'll see the machine origin can be set into the four corners of the work area. I'm going to set it in correctly. While we're here, just have a quick look. We've got the width and height of 700 and 500 millimeters. That is my work area. So now that I've got the machine set with the incorrect machine origin, the machine origin red dot will go across to the top left where I've set it. Now if I was to just do a couple of shapes on here, for example a circle and a square or rectangle, and we're going to run that job and see how that performs with the machine origin set incorrectly. Okay, we can actually see that the machine has cut the job in a mirror image to what it was on the page. So we have the circle here on the left hand side of this rectangle, but on the job, if you look down below, you'll see that the circle has been cut on the right hand side of the rectangle, and that's all because the machine origin was set incorrectly. Let's go and change it back. So we click back on the Tools icon, and we'll set the machine origin back to the right hand side and click on OK. You'll notice that the image is automatically flipped back to the way it was. It's just turned the page back over. So if we want to have this circle back on the right hand side, sorry, the left hand side like it was, we'll just move it over. So now the image is displayed on the screen the same as it was before. And now we're going to run the same job again using the exact same user origin. And you can see that this time it's actually duplicated exactly what's on the screen. It's not mirrored, the origin is set correctly, the circle has been printed or cut out on the left hand side of that rectangle. So that's the machine origins. Now we're going to move on to the next things we could talk about, which are the start from location and the job origin. Now the job origin is the reference to this green square here, and knowing exactly how to use that green square to your advantage is something that is, to me, it's invaluable. I spent months really trying to get the hang of it. I spent a lot of time making jigs, running tests on scraps, and then trying to position the final material on the laser bed to get that position exactly where I wanted it. You may remember a previous video I made using a square on the X and Y axis and T-squares. That was part of my learning experience into how to operate this properly to my advantage, and you could probably put that in the archives, just not refer to it. This, if you understand this, it makes it so much easier to position your work on the workbed. So what I'm going to do is look at these positions here. Start position, start from absolute coordinates. We'll start there first. You'll notice that the red or the green dot has jumped up to where the red dot or machine origin is. So basically what the machine is doing is it will always origin from the position 0, 0. It doesn't matter where the laser head is on the workbench. If you have it positioned exactly where you want it to start, if absolute coordinates is selected, the machine will use absolute coordinates, these coordinates across the X and the Y axis. So if I positioned this, I haven't moved it, we had the laser head, as you can see, down on the lower right hand side of the machine, but I've got this work area up the top close to 0, 0. I'm actually going to put it right up at 0, 0, just as an example. So the laser head is down the lower head part of the machine, but the work origin will always start up in this location and go down. Let me just start that job. As you can see, the laser head moved up to the 0, 0 location and drew that picture, or that piece, exactly where it was on the laser work area. So that means that if I move this, say, to central and cut the same job again, without moving the laser head, you'll see that it will actually go to those absolute coordinates where the piece is. So this is good if you know exactly the coordinates and the measurements of something that you want on the workpiece. Things that you probably use more often though would be the current position or user origins. So I'm going to go into those. Let's have a look at the current position. The current position will cut the job. It doesn't matter where it's located on the work area. So if I have this piece sitting right down in the far corner, where we'll put it over here where you can see it, the laser head is sitting in the lower right hand side of the machine, and if I start that job, you'll notice that it doesn't go to the left hand side, it does it exactly where it is. So that's your starting position. So it doesn't matter where you place it, it's where you have this laser positioned. So if I was to move that laser now into, say, the center of the workbench and now run the job again, even if this was up in the top right hand corner, it would still cut it in that location where the laser head was. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is user origin. So user origin is pretty much the same as the current position option, except it uses the user origin that has been set on the controller. So let's move the laser head for an example. Let's put the laser head up the back there, and I'm going to reach over and press the origin button. That origin has now been set as a user origin, so it doesn't matter now where I move the laser head. I could move the laser head all the way down to this bottom corner, and if I was to run that job, it would still run that job from the user origin. So this is good for if you wanted to position pieces regularly on the, swap pieces out on the workbench. So say for example we've got this rectangle and square, and we've got it sitting down here somewhere, but it's quite a big piece that we want to continually replace. So we could, for example, let's just also move the laser head to that position. So that's where it's going to cut. So now I set the origin and I cut that piece. I could then move the laser head out of the way, remove that piece, put the next one in, and then start the job again, knowing that it would go back to the exact same position. So the user origin is not using absolute coordinates. As you can see, we've got the diagram up in the top right hand corner. So if it was using absolute coordinates, it would cut it out of the top right hand corner of the laser bed. It's actually using the user set origin, so it doesn't matter where this is on the workpiece, it will always cut at the last set user origin. So that brings me to this next bit, which is the job origin. Now I mentioned that the job origin was the green square that goes on the workpiece and it moves around with the workpiece. So that is the origin of where the laser is pointing and where it will actually be positioned on the final workpiece. So this is the bit that made a lot of sense to me once I actually got the hang of using it. So we're just going to use the current position option and to demonstrate this. So what we're going to do is move the laser head somewhere closer where you can see it. So we've got our laser head positioned, and because we understand that we're using current position, that's where the laser will start cutting out the job. But the job origin can be selected 9 different locations. So if we click around, you'll see that the green dot moves also around the work area of the piece that we're cutting out, including dead center. So if we were to cut everything as I have been doing with the job origin set at the top right, we'll do a few cuts to show you the difference. I might move this out of the way so that we can see a little bit better. Okay, so now we've got the job origin and we've just cut out this little piece here, and notice that the laser head finishes back at the job origin. So we were to move the job origin to the top left hand side down here, we can see that the green dot has moved to the top left hand side of the workpiece. So that means that if we look at the laser head without moving it, the job will be printed or cut out to the right hand side of that. And again, if we were to say that it's the bottom part of the job and we were to cut that out, the position would be back at the bottom left hand side of that work piece. And obviously the same goes for the right hand side. We'll do it just for fun. Now the same goes for these 4 options on the corners. If you wanted to start at those 4 corners, those 4 sides, you could select those sides. One I use a lot is dead center. So let's just move the work laser head again. We'll just move it across a little bit. Okay, so you've got this piece and we want to cut it from direct center. So you would select dead center and start that job. And the laser head will point back at dead center. So it starts at dead center, cuts the piece and then returns back to dead center. So this is great if you want to center something on a board. I'm going to do some demonstration of that now. So to do this, what I'm actually going to do is cut out a circle or a coaster. So let's just get rid of this and we'll cut out a circle. We'll set the size to 120 millimeters by 120 millimeters. So now we've got our circle. Now in order to cut this out, I need to change the settings to cut. And let's cut this out. The airflow is a lot better with the door shut, so I'll just close that. So we've got our circle cut out and we're going to place it on the workbench. Now, in order to do this, if we wanted to measure the workpiece, we want to mark the center. So we're going to mark the center. I'm not being overly accurate for the sake of this video, but for an example, we have our dead center there. So what that means is I can line up my centerpiece on the dot that I've put there. So now that we've got it set up dead center, our current position is dead center on our 120mm circle. I've got my circle and I've got some text around the edge. What I'm going to do is make it so that it doesn't cut the outside, but nice and quickly I want to cut this text around the circle. So I select dead center, I've got the laser position dead center, and now we'll press start. So as you can see, that's one nice way to work with the dead center option. If you had a circle that you wanted to cut or to engrave on, anything like that, mark the center of your position, then using the center option you'll be able to center it on the workpiece. So some things that I do a lot are chopping boards, so I just wanted to go through how I might add some engraving to this chopping board, and I wanted it dead center, for example. Now I've got an irregular shape, so if I ask for this to go dead center using the dead center option, it's not dead center on the circle of the board. So say I had this circle, let's just, for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to make the chopping board, I'll show it for now, but so I've got the chopping board in red. What I could do is create a circle that is the same size as the one I'm using, and we'll make that one blue. So what we do is we find the diameter of our circle and we place it on the workpiece. So I'm just doing this roughly, but you would measure it up precisely. So you measure your chopping board and then create yourself a circle. Now what we can do is dead center this engraving onto that circle. So how then do we find dead center of the workpiece? So if we had our job origin as dead center, it's going to be start engraving up here, not where we actually want it. So this is where this option comes in handy on the sides. So what we could do is position the laser head at the bottom of our workpiece in the center, and that way we know that when it goes to do its engraving, it will move up to the center of this circle part of the board and do the engraving. Okay, so I said I was going to show you where to find these settings, the start from settings and job origin settings in RDWorks and AutoLaser. So this is Lightburn, so we're going to quickly recap. Start from, we have the options user origin, current position and absolute coordinates, and I'll show you what they are on the other programs, and also job origin. So let's have a quick look first at RDWorks. So RDWorks also uses the red dot for the machine origin and the green dot for the job origin. One of the differences is that if you have it set on absolute coordinates down here on the side, the green dot doesn't automatically stay up the top corner. It will, if there's nothing on the screen, it will go down to the bottom corner, but as soon as you place something on the screen, if it's on absolute coordinates, it will just stay in that position. So if you are on current position and you select that object, then the machine will start from that current position and move around to cut out that shape. The same is for the anchor point. Anchor point is referred to in Lightburn as the user origin or the user setting. So anchor point is user, current position is the current position of the laser head, and absolute coordinates is the same as absolute coordinates. Now the way that you change the machine origin in RDWorks is under config system settings, and this homing position is your machine origin. So if we were to select, say, the bottom right hand corner and say OK, you notice the red dot has dropped to the bottom right hand corner. Now if we wanted to change this, so let's put it on current position. Let's say we wanted to change the laser head position. We have this laser head option, so you would choose any of the 9 options. Let's just choose dead center for an example. You see that the green dot has moved to the dead center of that work area. If there was something outside this rectangle, it would also be centered to whatever is outside, even if it's hidden. So let's just move, for example, this piece here. You'll notice the green dot is still central to the actual dimensions of the work area. If you were to make this a different color and then hide it, this green dot is still going to be central to whatever's here in the workpiece. We may not be able to see it, so it's just something to bear in mind. So if we now view it, put this back into the center, you'll notice that that green dot also moves to the center of the work area. So yeah, just something to bear in mind, that even if something is hidden, it will still be central to whatever that work area is. So looking at AutoLaser now, this is the work area, and notice it doesn't have a red dot for machine origin or a green dot for the user origin or the start location. There's one of the downfalls of this software. We have to set that up under the actual machine. So under machine tab, we've got work machine. We'd have to go into Mac Info. Now I don't have a machine connected to AutoLaser because it uses TopWisdom Controllers. I'm just putting this here as a demonstration on where to find it. So under your machine, you go to format parameters for that machine. Now here we have top left, left bottom, right bottom, and top right. So we select the correct machine origin for our machine, and then down here we have a thing called pitch dot. Now pitch dot is where we want the laser head to start working from. So that is the same as the job origin. Notice further down on the same screen we have processing position. So we have current location, we have manual key position, as well as absolute coordinates. So those are the options that we used in Lightburn, so I'm just referring to those here. Both RDWorks and AutoLaser have another one, mechanical origin. It's not something I've used or am familiar with, but it would use 0, 0 as your starting location. So let's set that, say, at current location, and if we had it centered, we say OK. I can't because the machine's not connected at the moment, but even if I changed any of those settings, there is no green dot indicating where the starting point is. So you need to remember where it is when you're setting up your machine, and maybe checking it before you run your job. So if you're someone that changes these settings in AutoLaser and using different settings for different jobs, check it before you start your job. So that's AutoLaser. It's not the most fantastic program, but it will do the job with your TopWisdom controllers. So thanks for visiting Matt's workshop. Now I know this is a big topic, start origins, job origins, and there's so many different scenarios that you'd use them in. So hopefully I've just given you the basics so that you better understand how they work, so that you can use your laser machine with a bit more confidence. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, press the subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified when I release new videos. You'll also find my social media links and web address down in the description below. And if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. And until next time, take care. Cheers.